Hi there. Today we're going to take just a little bit of time and review the formula for area of a circle. To do that, we're going to review a couple other geometric figures that we should be familiar with, but wouldn't hurt to have these in your notes. Please write them there. The area of a square. Remember, a square is really significant because it has four sides that are exactly the same length. So to find the area of a square, you're just going to multiply the length of the sides times each other. So for instance, if I had a square that had sides that were 3 centimeters, that means that all four sides are 3 centimeters. So the area formula for a square is sides squared, or s squared. So if the length of the side is 3 centimeters, it would be 3 centimeters times 3 centimeters. Now, people always ask me, why is it squared? Well, mathematically, it's easy to explain that. If I take 3 centimeters times 3 centimeters, I'm taking 3 times centimeters times centimeters. Geometry property says I can move it around. Okay? So that ends up to be 3 times 3, which is 9, and centimeters times centimeters is centimeters squared. Hence, we end up with 9 centimeters squared. Now, if we're going to do area of a triangle, it's similar. To find the area of a triangle, remember that most triangles, not all, but most triangles have a different length than they do a width. Or you could say a different base than they do a height. You can look at it either way. So you have to multiply the length times the width, or base times the height, whichever one you're the most comfortable with, to be able to get the area. So if you had a rectangle that looked like this, and that rectangle had a height or width of 10 millimeters and a length of 12 millimeters, to get the area, you would simply take 12 times 10. And again, we can do the same thing that I did with the square and say 12 times 10 times millimeters, which would give you 120 millimeters squared. So that's really a pretty easy concept and not very difficult. And yes, I know it's a review of stuff you probably already feel like you know. But once in a while, it does not hurt to go over things that you think you know. Okay, so we're going to talk about triangle. One more thing. And one thing about a triangle that I can't emphasize enough is that you always need to remember that a triangle is simply a rectangle or a square that's been diagonally cut in half. Okay? So if I drew this rectangle and then I cut it in half, half of this rectangle is a triangle. In this case, it happens to be a right triangle because it came from a rectangle. And the formula, if you were just going to find the area of the rectangle, back over here, we did base times height, right? Well, if I cut that thing in half, then it's half of the base and the height, right? Half times base times height. So that's where we get the formula, base times height divided by 2, or 1/2 base times height. Either one of these formulas work just fine. Okay? So anyway, let's go on and talk about area of a circle. Area of a circle has a lot to do with pi. To find the area of a circle, you need the radius, which is half of the diameter. And remember that the diameter, I'm going to draw a circle here, okay? Diameter of a circle goes all the way across the circle through the center. So this is diameter. All the way across the circle through the center. If you're looking for the radius, then you're going to have to take half of this to find the radius. So I'm going to draw a line right here, and this is just from the outside to the center, and this is the radius. If you're given a diameter, all you have to do is cut it in half. If you're looking for the diameter and you're only given the radius, then you have to double it. So the area formula for a circle is pi, which can be represented in many ways. Pi as in this symbol, pi as in the word pi, 22/7 is pi, and 3.14 is also considered pi. Although 3.14, folks, is an approximation, It isn't true. I mean, pi actually goes on from there forever. I mean, there is no repeating digit, etc., etc. Okay? So, the formula for the area of a circle is pi, whichever form you choose to use, times r, which is our radius, and then you square that. And remember, the radius is half of the diameter. So sometimes you're going to be given different representations of pi to use. These three all equal pi. 22/7, 3.14, and this nice little symbol right here. And the most confusing to people is when people say, leave the answer in terms of pi. Well, that means that you're actually going to have the symbol pi in your answer, and you won't be multiplying by 3.14. You won't be multiplying by 22/7. You're just going to multiply by pi, which isn't any multiplication at all. It's just leaving the symbol there. So let's look at three exactly the same problems using the same radius. Okay? If the radius is 10 meters, then, and we're going to use 22/7 for pi. So it's 22/7 times 10 squared, which is 22/7 times 100. You do the math, you end up with 314 and 2/7 meters squared. Okay. Well, that works pretty good. That is actually an exact answer. You couldn't get much more exact than that. Okay. Over here, we're going to use 3.14. And remember, that is an approximation for pi, 3.14. So we're going to multiply 3.14 times 10 squared, because remember, 10 is the radius. So 3.14 times 100, and you end up with 314. And that answer is definitely an approximation, but it is very close to 314 and 2/7. Very close. Okay, and then over here is the answer that looks kind of bizarre to you, but it will be the correct answer. In this case, we have just pi used as pi. We won't change pi in any way. And it's pi times radius squared. So it's pi times 100. So the answer technically is 100 pi meters squared. And that's it. Now, if you were to take 100 and you had the pi button on your calculator and you hit the pi button, you would get something close to 314 from that. Because pi is 3.14161. It could go on and on and on. Okay? All right, well, that is our playing with pi today. I hope that you understood that. I hope it was helpful for you, and you have an awesome day.